Okay, and all this talk about trade, a story is being told, especially by the Trump administration, that we have a crisis. He has declared a national emergency because we've had a trade deficit, persistent trade deficits since 1975, which is literally before maybe two-thirds of the population was born. But what's happened since 1975? If you read the supporting documents to the Trump tariffs, they make a big deal that over 6 million jobs were lost in manufacturing, and they're saying, hey, it's because they all go overseas, right? They're saying that because we have these trade deficits, we are getting stuff from overseas, and this unfair trade, blah blah blah. This is where it happened. Well, let's examine that. And in fact, I think we're going to see very quickly that's not the case with this graph. Now, this is from the Federal Reserve Economic Data, my friend Fred. And this is a graph that is an index, right? And it shows in blue all employees in manufacturing set to 100. It's an index. So 100 is the level that it was in January 1975. And then we have industrial production, right? All the manufacturing production, right, in that code, which is generally taken, that's the stuff we make. And that sets 1975 also to 100. And so if we look at what happened, right, just eyeballing the chart, the major story here is, yes, we have had a decrease in employment. Employment in 1975, it continued up. It peaked in 1979, 11% above the 1975 level, actually, and it was about 19 million people. And then it drops precipitously during a recession, but it recovers a bit. And honestly, when we go across, it stays around 1975 levels, right? I mean, all the way until we get to when we get to there we go around 2000. It's in 2000 we're still at 99%. So in that period of time, employment is actually fairly stable. It's not at your if you compare it to the peak in 1979, it's low, but it's dropped a bit. It's dropped 11% actually, which is big, right? A couple million jobs, but it's really still at the 1975 levels, and it's been very stable. But look what happens to the green line. It goes from 100. It is rising. We have a dip at recessions, right? But we get to this little peak here in 2000. By June 2000, right, we are at 254%, right? It is at 254% of the 1975 levels. So the thing is, right, this is the 90s. This is NAFTA. This is, the Clinton administration and all that stuff they did that was supposedly so bad and globalist, right? Yet the story, when we look at the data, is that manufacturing employment was stable at 1975 levels, little off the peak, but that our productivity, our output just skyrocketed because productivity increased. We started using more, we reformed, we had a lot of more technology being used, machinery being used, less people were needed to make more stuff. But the employment stayed pretty stable. So the point here is that it can't be that we lost jobs, because we haven't really lost them off the 1975 level. We lost them off the peak of the all-time high, but it was fairly stable even at this point. So we didn't really lose that many jobs, and we radically increased our output. And the point is, hey, if it was unfair trade, if they were taking our jobs, the output would have gone with the jobs, right? The story we hear is that, oh my God, it's so horrible, and they took our jobs and everyone lost and everything went overseas. Yet we're making 250% of what we made, right? We've doubled and then added another half to the 1975 level. So the story just doesn't hold, right? US, we continued to make stuff. The thing is, we didn't make the stuff that you buy, that you hold in your hand, that has a little made in sign on it. We made a lot of other things. And, there were a lot of, we make Caterpillar tractors, right? Caterpillar is one of our major exports. We make a lot of parts for things. We make a lot of machinery, right? And we did it, we increased our production without increasing the labor. Now, after that, in the first decade of the 21st century, we continued the rise. The rise continued, but now we have this collapse, right? Here we have from 2000 until 2009, right? We have this giant drop in the first one is not entirely around a recession. The second one very much part of the Great Recession, but that's when we get this drop in uh, in employment. But we still have an increase in manufacturing, right? So again, manufacturing doesn't go away. We continue to manufacture things. It's only when we get after the Great Recession that we have our manufacturing output in the US becomes very flatline. Right now, we can wonder why, and we could talk about why during the first Trump administration, manufacturing was stable. Basically, it recovered in Obama. It's stable in Trump, and I don't think there's any hate to Trump on that, honestly. And then it was stable under Biden after COVID, and our employment rates were also right. So output and employment are stable. You might say stagnant uh, from basically the end of the Great Recession to today. Why has that happened? I don't know. We could talk about other things, but you can't say we're losing, right? That's the key thing. You can't say we've lost at any point in this. The big job loss was unassociated with any loss in production. And our production in the era when people are, saying that, it went away and we need to reshore it. In fact, production skyrocketed. So it just you know it just the story that the Trump administration is selling just doesn't fit the facts.